snow fell cold on a bitter night. John was gone for the morning light. They blame Karen, but it don't sit right. Too many secrets hid from sight. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town. Proctor's story shifts and sways. Cameras vanish, records fade. The Alberts toast while the doubts grow strong. The folks still fight, won't be long. Oh, the badge runs deep, the law runs thin. They stack the deck, but truth won't bend. The judge looks away, the truth gets drowned. Ain't no justice in Canton Town.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever. Welcome back to Day 8, Part 2, The Jennings, where we will learn that in America, you all have 15-year-old phones. I'm just going to remove that so it doesn't shine on my face. Because I haven't done a bot dial since 2017 in Times Squares.
I'm glad you remember it.
I do, because I was in Times Square at 8 o'clock in the evening, and I called a guy I was in city council with. He was really happy that I called him at 2 a.m. in the morning. And he's an officer. So when he gets phone calls at 2 a.m., he gets really, what's happening? And I didn't say anything, but I didn't do the thing you Americans have. You have what's in the business called a nimble bot, because you can hang up before it goes to voicemail. I never learned that trick.
It's almost like she did it intentionally.
It's almost like when Mr. Mo butt dials me and I say, hey, I continue to have a conversation with your pocket. Turn me off. Like I'm yelling. Maybe this disembodied voice coming from his buttular region will alert him to the fact that his behind has dialed me.
And I can tell that, again, I only follow the greatest legal minds on the interwebs.
Ooh.
And an anonymous Massachusetts lawyer, not Plevin, makes, again, years, decades of legal work, says that Alan Jackson, if you never watched this before and hadn't bought into the conspiracy, it would make him come off really bad, because this is the best witness ever. Even Court TV said all of her stories are setting up so many troubles down the road for them, because she keeps changing her story. But not Plevin, Massachusetts anonymous lawyer. You can look up. He is in the bar register. And but absolutely not Plevin. I have no way of proving it's Plevin, even though they write the same retarded way that we send to ChatGPT to kind of, when you go into ChatGPT and like today, I was writing a birthday card. My birthday card would be, here's 500 kroner. See you later. And then people go, you could write a little bit more. Why? The most important thing is the 500. But no, apparently you're supposed to say happy birthday and I hope everything's fine. So
Words.
I just go into ChatGPT and say, write a nice birthday letter. This is the name. Make it funny. So, but Plevin would never, ever have a sock account to kind of impersonate a lawyer. Massachusetts Anonymous
account. Because I could see me and Plevin doing miniatures of. That's the
creepiest damn thing I've ever seen. Oh
it kind of looks like a young John List, like if I was trying to find him on America's Most Wanted.
It looks like one of those voodoo shrunken heads.
Yeah, Mr. Mo is really worried about me.
I get it. I get it.
I can't imagine why.
But he was okay with the wigs because that had fun time. The shrunken head thing's getting a little weird, Mo.
It's like, I draw the line at puppets, damn it.
That's funny.
I'm just updating I'm a little behind. Sorry. I was pulling my food out of my fridge and then, or out of the oven and then, it's go time.
Ooh.
But what they're
I don't know if
wait, so where's the sister with the stripes?
Oh,
where's the sister with the stripes?
No,
those aren't stripes. She said
Look
she was
who's
wearing a
back.
striped shirt.
Look who's back.
Oh, is that her? Is that John's widow?
It's John's widow.
Oh, I was like, I don't know who that is.
She has his badge number in her chain, which shouldn't be allowed because they're not allowed to wear pink or blue. Oh, and Peggy looks like a linebacker for Duke Lacrosse.
Did the sister get kicked out? Is she gone? Denise?
Was she there today?
Yeah,
Well,
Jen McCabe pointed her out. Said she was
she's
there
like,
in the stripe between the guy in the black and the guy in the purple.
So she should be this one?
I think so, but she said she was wearing stripes. I don't see any stripes on that chick.
I see no stripes on my back. No, it looks like the
She does
same
kinda look-
horse-faced. So
Could
Holy
be
crap! I didn't think I could see a worse underbite than Jen's, but her sister.
Well, I'm not saying that Appalachia has nothing on Massachusetts, but I'm still saying family gatherings are quite small in that area of America.
Family trees tend to wreath around instead of branch.
Couldn't watch last half of morning. How's Jackson doing? Is McCabe obviously still full of poopa? Yes.
Very obviously.
And actually, he's doing better than he did in the beginning. I thought he got into one of his stumbling where he really want to hammer something, and he snapped out of it again. The text messages really rattled her.
Yeah,
that was really
she
good.
was expecting them to have looked through her text messages. Again, I don't think Jen appreciates how deeply the defense actually researched things. I think they all expected her to take a plea deal or to get, some rinky-dink lawyer, get her a good deal, and this was going to be over.
I just went back to this morning, and it looked. I can't see anyone with stripes. It looks like it's the same bucktooth woman.
Is that the beginning?
This is 4.5 hours ago.
So, okay. So that apparently is stripes.
Could be very because cameras doesn't
Strange.
bring up if it's skinny stripes.
They had to wear coordinating colors. Like, who does that? You're 40, ma'am, or 49. Dressing up in matching shirts with your sister, and you're not even at a pumpkin patch to take a family portrait.
I'm kind of surprised she's still in the courtroom.
Well, this was, I think it was a sidebar from earlier.
38 seconds.
My phone.
Are we
And
back?
what about Jen? This trial backed up, she'd do so when he's so with
MDT or anything like that. I think that
No,
Voicemail?
it's still their coverage. Did you all really need lunch? I need lunch. Oi, mighty! That's about the time I put it off my deck. Coinkink. I don't know. My Aussie accent is great. Might be faint set of stripes the camera isn't picking up on, but normally then it'll be distorting the stripes. If I pointed, my sister pointed me out and called, I'll leave too. Yeah.
Yeah. Be like,
Oh, yeah.
oh no, friendo, you aren't accomplishing me. I'm out of here.
Too late. She's already involved now.
But
well,
I don't
yeah,
get.
she held the crayon.
But I don't get why they're not impeaching her, or that they're not saying, "Okay, Your Honor, we have to have a sidebar right now," and then have her removed from the court and sequestrated. I don't get that one.
Are they allowed to just pull out a new witness? I mean, I know that trials are fluid, but it would, I guess, what is the procedure? Like, say we are at Karen Reed's trial and we suddenly decide that D. Nice needs to be on the witness list. Jaqueline or A.A. Ron?
Nailing maps. We need a map of the drive. Oh, look who's back. Back streets back.
again.
Kimmy. Where did you go, Kimmy?
Where'd she go?
I definitely would take a plea deal for 16 months. I would never trust a jury looking at 20 to life. No, Kimmy, but let me make it easy for you. Stop doing crimes, because then you would never get into trouble. And Kimmy, stay away from Canton, because in Canton they kind of just accuses ladies and hope they'll take a plea deal. Because Kimmy, let's be honest, you and me, girl. Let's get in here. Hey, Kimmy. You and I have been seeing each other for almost 2 years now. And you're playing hard to get, but I brought you roses right there. I brought you sweet, dolce tones of my voice. And now you have watched not only one, not only two, but 3 witnesses who all have backed my side of the story. So, Kimmy girl, I'm not saying you should change, because I like you feisty the way you are. But can I call you Kimster? Kimster, if you want to come on over, we can sit down and you can yell objection at me, and I can say the sweet words you want me to say. I know what it is, Kim.
Jen!
I'll do that to you all night long. And then we can wake up in the morning and say, I was wrong. Baker, you hunk of a man. I jumped on the Plevin wagon because I just hated this woman because, I don't know. But listening to these witnesses lie on the stand, it make me drier than watching Jen's bucktooth. But you, Baker, you fixed that problem real good. I'm going to call you the weatherman, because when you're around, it's raining, if you understand what I'm saying.
It's raining, man.
Man, hallelujah. It's a raining man.
I gotta admit,
Amen.
though, Kimmy didn't sound ridiculous with that statement. I think most people expected that situation to play out like that, right? Most people, when facing 20 years or 16 months, are going to say, I'll just take the 16 months. And I think everybody with a badge within 10 miles of this incident expected the exact same thing to happen.
Yes.
They
Well,
didn't realize
it is
that
time for
Karen
me to
Reed
run
wasn't
and get
gonna
the
do it.
Farrells. Right when Brennan's coming on. Score once Farrells win.
Well, thank you, Money G.
I'm a little creeped
All
out.
right. So council wanted to see me here or at sidebar.
Oh, let's do it in open court.
All right. If it's something to be done in open court, go right ahead.
Oh, nice.
So we had mentioned earlier at the end of Ms. McCabe's testimony, I have clips that I would like to play. There is a dispute regarding 2 of them. And I've given previous notice to the defense. They've would like different content in than I would. And I would hope to have a court's ruling before I played them.
All right. So I received an envelope, court copy, clip 17 was the only one I was given that was in.
That's a new one. The other
In
one was
dispute.
previously turned over to the court.
Okay.
The ones we have a dispute on are clip 13 and clip 15.
Okay. So I viewed the other clips. There's an objection to 13 and 15. There's an objection to them. All right. Let's play them. They're quick, right?
Yes, they are.
Play them very quickly.
Just to clarify, it's not that we object to playing them, it's that they're incomplete. So she didn't finish her answer. So we're just asking that it be extended so she can actually complete. So we produced alternative clips. So there's 2 for each, 13 and clip.
All right. So the Commonwealth gets to play what they want, and then you can play yours at some point too.
Well,
I
But
haven't
then, if we don't have time, I can wait to have a hearing on this. I don't think the defense can play in self-serving statements because they think it's
Okay,
not going to
I haven't seen it. All right. I
Rule
saw
of
clip 17.
completeness.
I have no problem with clip 17 coming in.
I don't think they have an objection to 17. The ones that are objectionable, I know we're pressed on a Friday. I can hold them till next week until the dispute becomes more clear for the court.
Okay.
It sounds like this is going to take more time than I thought.
All right, so I need what you have, Miss Little. I need that to review this weekend. All right, anything else?
The second issue is, I should approach the side.
Okay.
Oh, you don't want to say this part out loud? You don't want us to hear this part?
Is it that this lady is in trouble?
That's Denise, we believe.
Yeah. Can someone who is better with faces confirm this is Denise? And this is the grieving widow.
She's not the grieving widow. She went out with him one time in high school or something. She's just a weirdo. Everything about him is a dork. Right?
Yeah. Instantly, when she just came back from break and she's just sighing like she's Coco having a good time with Brian. It is Denise. D-nice.
Cool.
A 20
Yeah, the grieving weirdo.
inch waistline.
What?
I don't know.
Who's got a 23-inch waistline?
I don't know, but with all the ladies that pine for John, I think he was slung 23 centimeters.
Nobody knows what 23 centimeters is, man.
Well, I bet you if the ladies found out, they would. Can anyone explain why John was breaking his neck to a 10th? Albert said he only met John that night. I don't understand the question.
12 centimeters is 4.72
No, I said 20,
inches.
I said 23 centimeters.
Oh, well, that's like 10 inches.
That's
9.5
inches.
0.55?
Who is Paul talking to?
9, yep.
Isn't
9
that
inches.
the victim advocate, the guy in the black suit? Why did they have victim advocates before they got harassed?
When were they appointed the victim witness advocates? Not victim advocate.
She had one. She called the DA's office to talk to her victim advocate in April 2023. That's before Aiden started covering the trial. Remember, Aiden was the one who harassed them so much they needed an advocate. But he wasn't covering it at that time. So who was harassing them back then? Oh, Miss Little has a 23-inch waistline. Okay.
Ah. I believe it. Reacher is that guy's name?
Not the gray suit.
No. The guy in the black suit you're talking about earlier. I think Reacher is his name.
Oh, so that's
chat.
not the. Did Albert say he only met John for the first time at the waterfall? I don't know what Albert. There's a lot of Alberts here, but Brian Albert knew of John and I think had been with him one time before. No, Brian Albert didn't know him. Chris Albert had lived on the same road as him, and he's the one who invited them out for drinks. Oh, thank you, Katie. Where's Paul's balls?
Being family, you would have a victim advocate.
They're not family.
Right, that's my point. The commenter, I missed the name. Who was the name that just said that? Whoever it was, they got one when their dad died, it said. So you're the spawn of your father, right? Like you would be a victim in that situation. I guess I don't know what the situation is, but you know what I'm saying. The McCabe has no familial connection to John O'Keefe. She wouldn't have had a victim or witness advocate.
Yeah, and they all had the same advocate.
And I mean, they did, right? They had them. So I don't know the details. Oh, she is wearing stripes. There's Denise. Way to make yourself a party to a conspiracy to commit and cover up a homicide. Way to go, you. Way to go. Family first. Family first show.
Oh, that's why. In Canton,
it
means something different.
That makes sense to me.
There's no family there now. Denise was right there. What did Denise do? She wrote the timeline. So they could call her in to testify about, did they change their story? Did you hear a different story? Remember when Borowski said, you just made your paralegal and a witness in this trial?
Yeah, this is a little more egregious than that even. She showed up to Brian and Nicole Albert's house and sat for a few hours and wrote out the timeline for everybody. So they had a clear picture of what needed to be said. And then she even went over to McCabe's house, right? Did I catch on that? She went over to McCabe's house and further.
No, she went home. She went. Yeah, they went to McCabe's house and wrote the timeline.
Oh, it wasn't at the Albert's house. It was at the McCabe's house.
Yeah, because that was later in the day. They sat down and read it.
Got it.
And thank you, Hellfish, for a corner kiss, wishing for more monologues like this. So I don't know when it came in, but it was probably when me and Kimmy was getting it on.
That was like the most sense Kimmy's made in a comment in 2 years.
Yeah, and that's why,
I don't know why you're giving her grief for that one. That was actually a good comment.
Hey, I didn't give her grief. I said, girl, you are my world.
You Kimmy, I have your back. Kimmy, I got your back. You were good on that one. Baker's being a bully, messing with the trolls.
I'm not messing with the trolls. As a single man, I'm out here making my hoses green. Oh, not my hoses, my socks green.
Oh, that's funny. Somebody sent me a picture of your guys' cinnamon throwing.
Yeah.
Sent me a little, 30-second clip of it. That is not a little cinnamon throwing. That is burying somebody alive in cinnamon.
That's the rural areas where my daughter lives. Yeah. They go a little crazy.
That poor girl got emphysema just from that day.
Denise and her husband attacked the 2020 people on Carol's legal team. Was it Denise who yelled at who drove by and attacked Aiden as well?
No, that was Jill Daniels.
Oh, that was Jill Daniels. Oh, yeah.
That was Jill Daniels.
Well, there's a lot of horse-faced women in this town, so...
That's the other group of sisters. That was the
Court is in session, please be seated.
Julie Alberts is here.
Jurors, I know I said it was a 45-minute lunch. I apologize. No one intended to waste your time like this, particularly when we don't have the
I think
Stop doing it.
Okay, please.
For those of you who are late, I'm stealing Brandy's clip notes. Recap of General Cape's testimony. She's just a small-town mom living in a lonely world. Proctor's reporting is wrong. Tully's reports are wrong. Prince's report is wrong. Lang's report is wrong. The papers from the feds are wrong. And Selbright is wrong, but she's not. Jen knows for a fact what she said, except for those few times it changed, and that's only because those days were traumatic and a blur, so she can't be expected to remember details. I mean, other than the details she remembers, when knows for a fact that she said, even if she said something different before. Although literally the entire world knows she made a Google search at 2:27 and it's on T-shirts and signs and all over the internet, and we have done extensive questioning on this in multiple settings, she now doesn't remember if she used Google or if she made a search at 2:27 and would like to see records to refresh her recollection. Cross-examination is almost as frustrating as watching her work overtime to avoid answering even the most simple of questions. Carrie Roberts picked up Jen McCabe and went to John O'Keefe's house. Proctor called her at 4:45. They spoke for about 10 minutes. Then she left John O'Keefe's and went to her house, then to Fairview 34, then to Sidney Lang's house. She told nobody but Lang's and denied going to Fairview Road or back to her house until records were produced by the defense to prove otherwise. It's just, hey.
Yeah, it's typical. Typical.
Who hasn't? As I said yesterday, another day where I didn't have to lie to the cops about calling 5 friends. It was a good
somebody who I don't remember who tagged me in it, but that shit was funny. The other day after Wednesday's court or whatever, I got tagged in something on Twitter, and it was like a raise your hand if you haven't lied to the feds today, or if you've never lied to the feds. I got a kick out of it. I was laughing.
Yeah. Well, I would be stretching it a little bit, but
I didn't comment.
Yeah, how's long to die in the cold
All right,
is
whenever
a
you're ready,
T-shirt.
Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, Alan Jackson is done?
Yeah, he said he was going to
Good
wrap
afternoon,
up in
Mr.
2
McCabe.
questions.
Good afternoon.
I want you to briefly tell us your memory of the weather when you first arrived at Fairview,
What'd you
when
do?
you left at Fairview, and when you
Baker,
returned the
what'd
next
you
morning
do?
a little after 6 a.m.
What's the ball on?
Okay. When I arrived at Fairview on the early hours of the 29th, the snow was falling, just starting to fall, starting to stick to the street and onto the windshields. When I left Fairview, it had, accumulated more where my husband had to wipe the windows. And then the following morning, when we were driving there, it was dark and the snow was like coming out the car. Like, it was very hard to see.
When you returned the next morning, we've seen video from the dash cam. The elements, the visibility, is that fairly depicted in that dash cam?
Yes. Obviously it was lit more because of the lighting and the spotlights, etc.
From the moment that you first saw John until you went into your sister's home, is it fair to say a number of different first responders arrived?
Yes,
When the first responders arrived, did you see a number of different vehicles arrive?
I did, yes.
Did any of them have their sirens on?
Not that I recall.
Ambulance, fire truck, police cars, do you remember ever any siren on at all?
Not that I recall, no.
And your sister and brother-in-law, you described how you went in the house and woke them up. They never came out before you woke them up?
No, they didn't.
There was a house right next to where you found John before 34. Do you know what address that is?
I would
Asian
assume
house?
it's 32.
Did you ever see anybody come out of 32 Fairview and come over to John in the scene to help out?
No.
Across the street, there's a house that's in between 32 and 34. If you cross the street,
They take
Yes.
pictures?
did you ever see anybody come out of that house and offer assistance and help?
No.
There's a house right across the street from 34 Fairview, isn't there?
Yes.
And did anybody ever come out of that house and come over?
No,
Didn't
but they
somebody
gave
take
them
pictures?
that's the Asian house. But also from that house is where they got the solo cups.
To assist.
No.
When you were trying to help John that moment, have you ever been trained in emergency aid?
Probably 25, 30 years ago.
Your state of mind. Best describe how you were feeling at that moment as far as your focus and what was going through your mind.
I was shocked, confused, nervous, scared, anxious. My friend was lying there on the ground. I had no idea what happened. All I wanted to do was to get help for John, and as fast as I could.
Let me
You saw
give
her
you all
in the
a
back and you
little
spoke to a
PSA
number
real
of different-
quick. Here's what you should do. If there's a bunch of cops at your neighbor's house, you should immediately go over there. That's according to Hank Brennan. The normal response for you waking up and finding a crap ton of police officers on your neighbor's yard is to walk over there. That's Hank Brennan's advice.
I have to preface this and say, if you can scream loudly at the same time and wave your arms around, maybe carry something in your hand that could look a little elongated, it's always, the police really enjoys if you do that. Maybe something that looked like a pew-pew or something like that. Run out your house screaming, yelling with something. Maybe just do finger bangs, pistols. Just do that and yell, yeah, what's going on, mother effers?
What a ridiculous line of questioning, Brennan. You are an absolute moron. Oh, my God.
Well, her kids are special. They don't need CPR.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about
Yeah,
that.
finger bang. The good old pew-pew.
The old Yosemite Sam.
But yes, the Asian house that's even further away did come out and take pictures. I hope the defense can put them in.
People in law enforcement?
Yes.
In fact, during that day, a number of different people from law enforcement, did they call you?
Objection. I'll allow that. Move along to Mr. Brennan.
Did a number of people call you from law enforcement that day?
On the day of the 29th,
Yes.
Michael Proctor called me.
Okay. Did you speak to law enforcement after that day?
Yes.
Were you asked to engage in interviews?
Yes.
Were you asked to testify in front of grand juries?
Yes.
Were you asked to come to court and testify?
Yes.
Did you ever once refuse to speak to the police?
No.
Did you ever once refuse to testify?
Yes, she did. She told the FBI she was her sister.
Didn't she end the FBI interview also? Didn't she say something about she was done?
I don't recall.
I think she did.
She might have.
I think she wanted to lawyer up.
No.
They
When you
did
were speaking
lawyer
to the
up
police
that
on that dash cam, to pick on the dash cam, why
I
were
don't
you
know if
speaking
she
to the
did.
police?
Ryan Albert did.
Well, each officer that arrived had a set of questions of who it was, what happened, etc. So I was answering all the questions.
Every time I put something in my big mouth.
Giggity.
Each officer that showed up wanted
You
to
mean
ask
her friends?
questions. Yeah, you just answer the same question. If it's at the scene, you wouldn't be asked by every cop who showed up. You would be asked by the lead, because the rest of them will be going around checking for things. They don't come up to you and say, hey, what happened? Hey, what happened? Hey, what happened? She's such a bad liar.
Because my main focus was John.
Did you ever try to be evasive with the police?
No, I told them everything I knew.
Did you
I'm
ever try to
Nicole
avoid
Albert.
speaking to them?
The form.
Did you ever hold anything back from the police when you spoke to them?
I'll allow that, and then let's move on, Mr. Brennan.
No, I didn't.
She's a liar.
When you interviewed with many different law enforcement and people involved in this case,
Law enforcement.
were you ever given an opportunity to review somebody else's report after it was written and provide edits or your input?
I'll allow it.
No.
When you testified, are you testifying from what somebody wrote? They interpreted what you said months or years ago, or are you testifying from your own memory?
I'll allow it.
I'm testifying from my own memory.
You called 911?
Yes.
And that morning when you called 911, well, let me ask you, do you wear an Apple Watch?
I do have one, yes.
When you were speaking to 911 that morning and during that event, how did you feel?
Extremely nervous, anxious, scared, uncertain,
Do you think
panicked.
Do you think your heartbeat was up?
Yes.
It was
At
around
2:27 the
97, I
night
think.
before, or around that time when
On
you were
average.
looking up Hockomock before you went to bed, were you of the same state of mind of fear and panic, or were you in a very different state of mind?
Strike the fair and
It was
panic.
around 80.
Answer that, though. You were the same mind or different?
Different.
What was your state of mind at that time?
I was relaxed, just playing on my phone, looking up things before I went to bed.
Do you think your heartbeat was as elevated that evening as it was the next morning?
Sustained.
When you made a search for how long to die in the cold or how long to die in cold, is that something that you thought of for yourself?
I'll allow it.
No,
Why did you do it?
Miss Reed asked me to Google it.
And when was that?
That was in the morning after we found him.
And had you ever attempted either of those searches before Miss Reed asked you to do that?
No, I didn't.
You were asked questions about the next day when you visited the O'Keefe home. And you read some records. Do you remember those questions?
Yes,
Do you remember going to the O'Keefe home?
I do. Yes,
You went with who?
with Carrie and our 2 daughters.
Do you remember how many hours you spent with the O'Keefe family?
I don't remember how many hours. Say a few.
Was it over 3 or 4?
Could have been. I'm not sure.
What is the reason that you spend so much time at the O'Keefe home the next day?
We went over to offer support, love, comfort, to be with them.
You weren't avoiding them, were you?
No, no.
Sustained.
After you left the O'Keefe home and reading the records, I don't know if this is your memory, it was suggested it was 5:12. Do you remember going to Fairview?
I remember driving by Fairview on the way to Mike Lank's.
When you went to Fairview, you were asked questions about when you stopped by, whether that meant you went in or were outside. Do you remember whether you went in or were outside?
We never went in.
Have you seen your phone records that there are no calls to your
Didn't she just say
sister
she
when you
didn't
went by
remember
Fairview
that?
at that time?
On cross?
I haven't. No.
And when you went by, you were asked about that. In fact, you had been asked about that before, hadn't you? Whether
Yeah.
you stopped by.
Yes.
And Attorney Jackson showed you part of that statement.
Yes,
Did you, when you were saying that's part of the statement, did you read the whole statement to yourself?
I did.
And to put that in completeness, had you, under oath, talked about the fact that you went by that day?
I'm confused by your question.
Okay, may I approach?
Yes.
Oh, my.
Okay.
You were shown page 181 and then 182?
Yes.
And so when you were asked about that before, had you in fact offered under oath that you did go by Fairview?
Yes.
When you stopped by Fairview, according to the questions you were asked, or the records you were asked to read, it was 4 minutes you stopped by Fairview. Does that sound like your memory?
No, I know we drove by, slowed down, and we were looking outside.
Why did you want to go back to the very scene that you had seen that morning?
I think Carrie and I just, I'm not really sure. I think we just drove down and we,
All right, so your answer is not really sure.
okay.
Next question.
And then according to the records that were read to you, you went to Detective Lang's house
Yes.
and you were at that address for about 40 minutes, 50 minutes?
Yes.
You were read or shown certain text messages between you and some of your family.
Yes.
Was that a complete listing of the text messages in order that were on your phone?
I had a lot of text messages with them on my phone. Yes.
Were some missing from what you were shown?
I'm not sure.
Okay. You were asked about your state of mind. I'm going to ask you about some of those text messages in a minute.
Mhm.
You were asked about calls and text messages to John O'Keefe.
Yes.
Have you ever inadvertently called anybody before on your iPhone?
I'll allow it.
Yes, many times.
And you were asked whether or not you remembered or knew that those calls were made to Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
Did you purposely make those calls?
No, I do not believe so.
If you inadvertently called on purpose, it wouldn't be inadvertent, would it?
True.
Did John ever answer any of your calls after that 1218 call?
No, he didn't.
And when you were reaching out to him, did you reach out to him the next morning after you heard from the defendant?
I did. Yes.
What?
No, next question, Mr. Bowman.
Why were you reaching out to him?
Because I was trying to get in touch with him.
Oh, they were not
Because
allowed
Miss
to
Reed said he
approach.
didn't come home.
You were asked about your state of mind over the next couple days.
Yes.
And I'd like to ask you about some of the text messages reflecting your full state of mind over the next couple days.
All right, this has to be really brief.
No, it doesn't have to be really brief. You have to shut the fuck up and run the courtroom and listen to the defense. Remember, she has the right to a fair trial. Anyone sees two people missing in this picture?
Where's Paulo Balls and Peggy?
Polly Ball and Peggy is on the loose. Oh, it wasn't really brief. And we'll have to leave. No, they didn't take long for lunch. They actually only took 45 minutes, and then they had a sidebar. Well, I don't know if the DOJ is watching. Again, she hasn't done anything overtly illegal, like tampered with a jury or anything. So she's golden. There's
Peggy?
nothing Bev has done now that could be other than, well, I didn't find it necessary. And she, as a judge, has the right to make these have these discretions. It's just very biased, and we hate her for it. But the DOJ can't come in and say you must give them 5 minutes to a sidebar. It's not illegal to say I don't want to listen to you, because then some random pro se could just ask for sidebars 24/7. And
they would just
filibuster.
to filibuster the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could come up with a lot of things to say if when you stop talking, you go to prison, right? I got a lot to say, man. Listen to what I'm saying, man.
You know, Star Wars, man. What if it was in a mirror universe with Star Trek, and the Borg is actually evolved by Ewoks?
Let me quote from the scriptures quickly, starting at line 1, sentence 1.
Let there be light. It's a great opening, but you have to wonder who was there to put up the fixtures before. That's why I've always had a problem with Genesis. Who was the electricians running all the cable for Let There Be Light? Your Honor, I think this is a moral and philosophical question we should ask ourselves.
I'd be talking for 30 years. I wouldn't even go to sleep.
Why does Denise look terrified? Probably because she just have one of those faces. I think the merriment has gone down quite a bit over there today, and I still can't get why the guy who bumped Karen Reed and was thrown out in trial 1 is allowed to be back in here. I just can't understand it. Talking about Sundays at 2. This Sunday at 2, I will have Alexa's room back on to talk about her take on what happened in the first-ish week of the Karen Reed case. You should join us. It's going to be fun.
Heck yeah.
Well, then who made the chimichangas that made it explode? There's a lot of questions going on. And if I'm going away for 20 years, trust me, I could find holes in everything.
We're going to talk about it, that's for sure.
All right, jurors, you're about to hear some evidence. And remember, I told you this morning that before you consider any electronic communication in your deliberations, you must first find that it is more likely true than not that the person who authored or created or sent, transmitted this communication was in fact the person alleged to have done so. If you do not find it is more likely true than not that the person alleged to have transmitted, created these messages, then you may not consider the electronic communication in deciding this case. And remember, what you're about to hear, you're not to use for the truth of the statement. It goes simply to the state of mind of Ms. McCabe at the time of the message. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you. May I approach with a copy for the witness?
Yes.
Thank you. Giggity.
When law enforcement asks for your phone, was there any requirement you give that to them?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you voluntarily consent to give your entire phone to law enforcement?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Yes, I did.
I handed you a document that reflects your text
Except for all the
messages
things
from
you
that
deleted
morning and the next
first. Yeah.
day. You were asked about some of them on the screen. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Okay, and you were asked how that affected your state of mind and the decisions that you were making, correct?
yes.
I want to read along, and I'll indicate if you look at the number on the left.
We are on redirect. Cross ended just before lunch. I didn't catch it ended, and now we are back to. Well, this lady has a problem that everything she remembers is really good when she's on with Hank, and really bad when she's on with AJ.
It's pretty
And
impressive,
then
actually.
read it, and you can let me know if I read it
She
accurately.
remembers
okay.
everything clear as day because she was in shock and horror.
You know what? She's not her little smiley self anymore at
Starting
all.
at number
even with Brennan.
17,
Maybe they
There's
had a
a
talk in the
phone call
lunch break, and that's why the
saying,
O'Keefe's
"Please
isn't there
answer.
anymore
Who
because
you
they
calling?"
can't watch her.
Well, she might have really screwed herself with that testimony, I think. I don't know if anything will come of it, but I think she screwed up.
Sorry.
Yeah, but with the O'Keefe's listening to this crap, and I know we talked about still being in the grief stage and anger stage, but at
number
what
17,
point do
phone
these
call,
group
please
messages
answer.
start adding up and say there's something
calling?
fishy here?
John O'Keefe.
Do you know at that point where he is?
No.
4:59, 49, number 18. Karen is worried. We need to find you.
John O'Keefe.
5:04:40, number 19. Please answer so I know you're okay. Who are you calling?
John O'Keefe.
You're right.
Number 26, 5:15:41, 129.
Bro,
Okay, I'm
back
trying to
up 10
call
seconds
people.
and
I'll be in touch
look at
soon.
her face.
John O'Keefe.
Watch this pause and watch her face.
Number 26, 5:15:41, 129. Okay, I'm trying to call people. I will be in touch soon. Do you know who you're calling?
Don't recognize the number.
What are you thinking at this point?
Don't think.
I'm trying
don't
to find
think.
people. I'm trying to call people so that I can try to find John.
I think she was looking at Brennan. Brennan is right down there in front of her.
I think
she was wondering why he didn't ask a question.
I think she looked at Brennan and then looked at the jury under her eyelids kind of thing, like snuck a glance at the jury to see their reactions kind of thing. And I don't think she liked what she saw.
Oh, she looks kind of like someone took a dump on her car while she was in shopping at Kmart. Someone called into court to me and posed a great question. When Karen called Jen that morning saying she couldn't find John, why didn't Jen ever attempt to call him herself? She did. This is what she is doing now, reading the 2 times she called. But I believe she doesn't start calling till she's picked up by Karen.
Number 31, 5:22:57, 129. Okay, I tried to Beatty. Okay, I just talked to her. What are you referring to?
I don't know whose number this is.
Okay.
At
this point in the morning, you're making these phone calls. Do you know where John is?
No, I have no idea where he is.
Turn to number 48, 129:22 at 8:44. You're texting any update. What is your state of mind?
Which number is this?
Number 48.
48. I believe that may be to Kerry Roberts, and I'm trying to get an update from the hospital.
You were asked about your relationship with Kerry Roberts. At that time, before, imagine how hard the situation is for you. Does this reflect your state of mind that day?
Yeah. I'll allow it.
We have to approach.
Objections noted. Next question.
We need to approach on this particular text.
Come to sidebar.
There's something they really don't like.
Yeah.
I want to know when did she get Carrie's phone number? Because they didn't know each other. They never talked to each other. None of them liked each other. So why is she calling and saying, "Oh, I just need to check up with you and find out how you are and how well you're doing"? Yeah, fiddle that. He shouldn't be allowed to wear John's badge number. This guy shouldn't be allowed to wear some kind of service pin. I don't care if it's
flag. What is it?
I don't care what it is. If it's a veterans flag or whatever, there is a strict First Amendment buffer zone where no displays for either side is allowed. So anything that could be interpreted as police something or her with the badge number should be thrown in prison like everyone else. No, she would be the one who called a mistrial.
Yeah, approach your honor.
Yes.
I really don't know how to say this, so why don't you tell me about the weather? Yeah, that was weird opening.
This number on top. This number
And I still don't
That is
get.
9.
We've seen the
And
weather.
the bottom
It's not
number
that
is who
bad.
it's going to.
Yes.
So this text message, is this what you wrote
Yes, it is.
to Carrie?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I won't read that last text message again. However, it is correct that text message was from you to Ms. Roberts, number 168.
Yes, it was.
Someone dying?
She keeps looking over there.
And the response in this text message, number 169, from Ms. Roberts to you, you were also, "This is awful, Jen. I'm in shock."
Yes.
Number 170. And this one is from Ms. Roberts.
Why is she looking so mean at him?
I'm telling you, something weird has happened in her body language.
Yeah, she changed her demeanor. She's not fighting anymore, but she's angry. She's really angry. And can I just say one thing? They're now reading Carrie Roberts' text to Jen. Guess who didn't know how John ended up on the front lawn?
Carrie
who wasn't
didn't.
at the party, who didn't get in on any knowledge until they sat down with Dean Ice and made a timeline. Carrie Roberts.
The girl that's sending these actually emotional texts that you would expect, not any updates, not telling the guy never came in the house, nothing like that. These are genuine text messages.
I bet you Carrie Roberts were having a shitty day that day.
Oh yeah.
Funny.
First to you.
Weird.
129.22 at 2:05:45. I literally am having wine. I don't know what to do. Calm down.
Yes.
171 at 2:06:35 on 129.22. From you to Ms. Roberts. I know I am definitely in shock and it keeps hitting me. I just feel so sick. Is that accurate?
Yes.
I'm going to read one more. 172. And this is from Ms. Roberts to you at 2:13:41 on 129.22. I don't know what to even do. I'm so sorry for both of us. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Why does she keep looking at the defense table every time she answers? She's looking if AJ is taking notes, I bet you. And go up and try and read it in it, because this way he's reading it is, oh, I'm literally having wine. Yeah, no big surprise with this woman. But even her, oh, I feel so bad, doesn't come off as feeling so bad.
Mm-mm.
Number 175. Again to Miss Roberts, 2/14/15, 1/29/22. Do you text, I talked to Peggy, I am devastated for them?
Yes.
And did you follow up seconds later at 2/14/56 on 1/29/22? I am so sick to my stomach.
Yes.
I know they can't read everything, but I love John so much, and it's just tearing my heart apart thinking about these two kids who will now lose another parent in such a short period. I cry just thinking about it, and I wish I had seen him when I left the house, because I went out the front door almost directly in front of where he was found. If I had just seen him at that time, I could have saved him. I have survivor's guilt right now because I drove right past him when he was incapacitated in the snow, and I could have done something. I hope those texts are also in there, and he's just saving that one for later instead of all of this. Yeah, I have a bad tummy and I feel sad. I would really like that text that says, imagine those kids, and I wish I had been more. I had looked better when I came out, because who is in nothing this woman have ever texted? John O'Keefe. If I had been in that house, walked out, and sat in a car and driven off talking about Jiffy peanut butter, by the way, that must have been frozen if she leaves into the car. Really stupid. But I would have been eating myself for, could I have done something? Could I have seen him and helped him and made him survive? Could I possibly have done anything? That's what I would have been in that state of mind the first day. Again, I've told this story a million times. My dad got a heart attack in my arms. And to this day, whatever little angel poked my brain and said, no, go back and help him into the doctor's office. He doesn't look good. I'm happy for that. But after, I was thinking, could I have seen it? Could I have called an ambulance earlier? Could I have saved him? Because you get survivor's guilt. None of these people have ever shown 2 ounces of guilt over not saving John. Sorry. Rant over. Yes.
That day, did you have to speak to your children about what happened?
I did, yes.
Was that part of your state of mind that day?
Yes.
I'll allow that.
Number 208 or 207. You receive a text from this number. I don't want to say it out loud, but if you could read it, 207.
Did she just hide her face from the jury?
I don't.
Okay, we'll move to the next one then.
She pulled her hair out to
208,
avoid the
129,
jury.
22, 34206. I've never felt so sick. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Number 210, 43340, 12922. You text messaging somebody?
Yes.
Do you know who that is?
I don't, just off of the number.
Okay. And this text message, is this from you to somebody?
Yes.
My mind is racing. I have that awful feeling in my gut like I am about.
I'll allow it. Sent by this witness, allegedly.
My mind is racing. I have that awful feeling in my gut like I am about to puke. Besides seeing the awful image, trying to wrap my head around what happened to him. Is that accurate?
Yes.
I really wish I could see the jury right now.
Yeah. And sadly, we can't really use the eyes that's in the room because it's Sue from Boston.
213.
Oh, Alan Jackson is
This is on
doing bad.
129-22 at
Jen McCabe is so
4:38:20.
trustworthy.
Do you know who was texting you?
Yes,
Who?
my friend.
Once things settle, you need to talk to someone and process the trauma. And then 2:14, you respond. 129-22, 4:40:38. I have been shaking since this a.m. I feel so sick. Everything started to be a blur and all run into each other.
Yes,
And this is at 4:40:38 at 129-22.
yes,
And during that day, you've spoken to law enforcement
yes,
and the days that follow.
yes.
She's not answering to the jury like she was before.
No, she's not looking at them right now.
She's not looking at him at all. Like I've seen her look up at him like once or twice, but it's different than it was.
She was coached to
We're
do
going
it
to
with
move
AJ.
to 129-22, 7:52. If you look at number 289, please.
Okay.
At 289, is this a text from your sister, Nicole?
Yes.
Any update?
Gender count fairy, great thing. Yeah, another thing. Oh my God, can you believe that she told me she did it? But remember, she didn't remember it until she remembered it. So she might have forgotten it.
Is that
That'd be
accurate?
what I'd ask.
Yes.
If I were AJ, can you show me where you talked about how you were surprised Karen Reed hit him?
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were shown this text at 292,
Yes.
and you texted your sister, Kerry talked to cops, kept it simple.
Yes.
What did you mean by that?
I mean, the cops had gone to her house, but she had had a long day and been drinking some wine. So she said,
Brennan, rookie mistake. You don't ask this woman to clarify anything because she's a fucking liar. And now she's going to make up a story on her little bony behind again. And it won't be as good as you think.
that she just made it quick.
And you were sharing that with your sister?
Yes.
And was your sister part of many of these texts as part of your support group?
Yes.
Support group.
Did anybody tell you that you shouldn't rely on your family and have a conversation about what you went through?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
No, no one did.
And during that text time, the one I just read to you was at 7:54:38. If you turn to 296, 129:22 at 7:56:50. Did your sister text you, okay, try get some sleep, talk tomorrow?
Yes.
And did you text back at 7:57? Yes, but don't feel pressure.
Yes.
And the next one, 298 at 7:57:07. Was your sister asking you for any updates?
Yes.
And at 7:57:13, did she text you, I love you, don't beat yourself up, you did the best you could?
Yes.
And just a few minutes later, one at number 308, please, 129:22 at 8:01 p.m.
Mhm.
Did your sister again write to you, okay, text me in the AM if you hear anything later?
Yes.
You continued texting with her?
Yes.
You were asked about timeline?
Yes.
If you turn to number 761, please.
I've never seen
761.
somebody
761, please.
What page
put
is
their
that
hair
on?
in their
248?
face when they're looking down
I'm
to read
missing
before.
page
That was
248.
bizarre.
You don't have a two-page 48?
No, it stops at 212 and picks up at 253.
Yes, stand up the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Could have been such a great joke if it picked up at 2:27.
You mind if I ask you to put together a timeline?
Peggy.
You're
Peggy.
so vain.
Okay.
Yes.
You think the
2
status
days
of
later,
power-
January 31st, 2022. And this is at 10:26:29 a.m.
Right?
Are you texting Ms. Roberts?
I am.
I have spent the AM trying to process that he is really gone and try to piece together all the events. Is that
Trying
part
to
of the
piece
process
together
of
all the
timeline?
events, are you?
Yes.
Well, he is an idiot, so he didn't copy all the pages, so he's going up there. Bev looks so done with
At
this.
some point on the 31st, was something happening around Fairview Road that you learned?
I believe there was police presence.
Was there any presence from the media, the press?
Oh, yes, there was.
Was that causing any concern?
I believe I talked to Peggy and she was,
Assisting.
That's hearsay,
So
you
on
know that.
January 31st, 2022, we're at number 864.
Mhm.
You're receiving information. Do you know who this number is that's calling you?
That's my sister,
Which one?
Nicole.
And she's texting you, news people came by and knocked on the door again. They're all leaving now, Peggy and them left about 15 minutes ago.
Yes.
And then at 1 o'clock, 18 seconds on 1:32:22, you text back, did you answer the door?
Correct.
Was this part of your state of mind on the 31st, what was going on around the house?
Yes.
Just a few more. In trying to recount for people who asked you that morning and over the next couple days, some of what's reflected in those text messages, was that part of your state of mind?
Yes.
Was it in any way affecting the way you were remembering and thinking about what had happened? Objection.
Yes.
Your Honor, subject to redactions, I would seek to introduce all of Ms. McCabe's text messages.
So we'll deal with that later. Is there an objection?
There is.
We'll deal with that later.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Did you see her?
Not touched. Did your family plan all of this together? Why can't you remember shit? Why did you drive around like a crazy person? Well, he did kind of touch that, but I didn't feel he dismantled it. Who, if any, did you Google at 2:27? Why did you lie to the FBI? This is
Didn't touch any of those.
This is the redirect. This is the I'm going to rehabilitate your really bruised.
I think something might be happening, man. I think.
I don't want to do anything like that and start anything, because the thing, Aiden was telling a joke this morning about the flippity flop, and people take everything on internets way too serious. Remember, it's
That's
just
our first mistake.
all of this.
Don't listen to me, y'all. I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me.
Yeah. We are so dumb. We went underpaid to a foreign country to get shot at. This is what you get, a level of IQ on this channel. But there has been a clear shift in demeanor since since lunch.
That ain't
Clear
the same
shift.
girl that got off the stand earlier. That's for sure.
We're banking on the car data now. Jen is off team prosecution. Could be.
Yeah.
But that the only problem is we know that car data shows 12:31:38, where Karen must have been gone already. I don't want to do all there's black helicopters in the area and stuff like that, but something has changed. I don't know what it is, but something clearly shifted during this morning.
I think it's black helicopters in the air. That's what I think.
Well, you better keep me away from her, because this is the type of woman I would eat up with a spoon.
Shut up. Eat up with a spoon. Ew.
Yeah, that's what they claim. That's what Plevin claims, that the new car data. But what haven't we seen with the new car data? Any attempt to keep it out? If it's so bad as Plevin would have people think, the defense would have tried and keep it out. We haven't had one motion regarding the car data, other than back in the day that they said, hey, we want our expert there because your expert is moron. He can't even tell bits from bytes.
Ms. McCabe, a couple of follow-up questions. You indicated on redirect examination that there were no sirens that you heard that morning with the approach of the first responders. Is that right?
I don't believe there was.
But they did have their lights on.
I saw a spotlight, yes, and I do believe they had lights on, yes.
Flashing red and blue lights or red lights, some
You've
combination
watched
thereof.
30
correct?
videos.
Correct.
Yeah.
That was cruisers, police cruisers, correct?
Yes.
There were fire SUVs, in other words, a captain of a fire department.
Possibly.
There were fire trucks and fire engines. You know the difference?
No.
Fire engine, big one with a ladder on it.
Yes.
There was an ambulance, correct?
Yes.
And all of them had their emergency lights on.
Most likely, yes.
All of them had their motors running.
I'm not sure if they were all running. They could have been, yes.
Certainly, you would agree
all
that there was a
running.
cacophony of diesel engines and gasoline engines and internal combustion engines that were running right outside of 34 Fairview, although no sirens, correct?
I wouldn't exactly say right outside of 34 Fairview. I'd say there were some right outside of 34 Fairview, but the first vehicle pulled up kind of right just on the right end, and most of the vehicles with the lights on were to the left. So they were actually more in front of 32 Fairview. But there were vehicles. There was Miss Roberts' vehicle, and then I believe another vehicle pulled up. I think I remember
Let's
from
see the
seeing the
video.
dash cam.
And Sarah's cruiser, correct?
Yes.
And Mulaney's
And the
cruiser
fire
was on the
engine.
other side of Terry Roberts' vehicle, correct?
Yes, I don't believe lights were on. His lights were on.
And there was an ambulance just to the left and behind Sarah's vehicle, correct?
Yes, which would have been in front of 32 Fairview.
Lights on that as well,
Yes.
all facing in the direction of 34 Fairview, correct?
Facing, but out front of 32.
So is
That
there a
means
reason
there's
that you're so
18
resistant
sets of headlights on the house.
Again, I love how she always tried to. How does light work? Well, it has to be directly in front of the window, or it can't hit the window. That every day, I have to run around and try and find that one spot the sun shines on, because that's how light works. Light is only at one specific concentrated place at the time.
There's literally like 10 sets of headlights all pointing at that damn house right now. All
And-
of them. And the blue and reds. And if you guys have never been around a whole lot of big diesel engines like that, like on an ambulance and a fire engine, they're loud. It creates a buzz in the air.
Yeah,
Go, 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 go.
she's such an idiot.
admit that there was a cacophony of sound and noise outside of 34 Fairview?
No.
Okay, so there was, correct?
Outside on the front lawn, yes. Side
Also,
lawn.
Karen
there was
Reed's
also
running around
Some
screaming
people
like a
yelling and
banshee
screaming
the whole
at a high
time.
pitch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both Miss Reed who was yelling and screaming, correct?
Correct.
And Miss Roberts, who at least at some point told her to shut the fuck up, correct?
Correct.
You were asked about the stop at 34 Fairview on the way to Sergeant Lang's house on redirect examination by Mr. Brennan just now, correct?
I was, yes.
He showed you a couple of pages of your transcript from that question and answer, correct?
I believe he showed me a page, yes.
And you noted that this was a question and answer from a hearing last year in this courtroom?
Yes.
And you admitted that you stopped, but actually, let me rephrase that. You were confronted with the fact that you stopped at 34 Fairview on the way to Officer Lang's house, Sergeant Lang's house, by me on cross-examination, correct?
Yes, you asked me.
You also indicated that you have never refused to speak to the police, any law enforcement officer in this case, correct?
I've spoken when but asked to, yes.
But in point of fact, when you were approached by the two law enforcement agents who were not connected to Massachusetts State Police or the Canton PD, you suspended that interview and refused to answer further questions, correct?
I welcomed them in my house, sat with them, and then I stopped, and then I met with them a few times after, and I answered all their questions that they asked. I helped clear up some misconceptions that they had been told, and as you know, I know they're no longer investigating, so I think I helped them well.
And
What?
What? What, Jen?
You cleared up some misconceptions that they had, did you?
Who's no longer investigating, Jen, as you know? So
how do you know that?
So Jennifer McCabe, did you just kick the door in for another investigation into something?
Outstanding. Oh,
Well, it's Bev. It's Bev who's on the chair. So, but that should probably count as kicking the door wide open to talk about another investigation.
You know what? In all fairness, I think at this point that has to come in because the way she just said it made her seem like she was the suspect alone in the investigation, right? As you know, they are no longer investigating that, and she's been grilled for 2 days. Right now, everybody in that jury thinks that she was the suspect originally, according to this other investigation. They need to bring that in to clear this up because that's ridiculous. That's going to take so much of the claiming that the FBI, or she didn't say that, but you know what the hell I'm talking about, right? Claiming that this investigation has been resolved and that she is free and clear now in the eyes of the jury. You can't do that. Bev, you have to let this in now.
Bev, you have to impeach this witness and call the investigators and say, is it actually her statements that ended your investigation into this matter?
When they opened the door for Turtle Boy harassment, it was a lot less.
Well aware that in that first interview, you stopped the interview cold and refused to answer further questions, correct?
I said I'm going to stop and I'm going to seek some counsel, yes.
Why?
The text messages. You just read a series of text messages that Mr. Brennan actually read for you and you agreed with, correct?
Correct.
Who knows?
Or any of the text messages.
I don't know why he doesn't go up
in the group chat that I showed you in cross-examination.
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
And that group chat included you, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, and Matt McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And that was a private chat among the four of you. Is that right?
That's just a chat with them, yes.
You read some text messages to and from Carrie Roberts, correct?
Yes.
You had just met Carrie Roberts. Isn't that right?
Yes.
She's not a McCabe. Is that right?
Correct.
She's not an Albert, correct?
Correct.
You even read some text messages with your minor children, correct?
Just now?
Yeah.
I don't believe any with my children.
Mr. Brennan asked you about a couple of text messages, or at least one text message with your children. Didn't he?
No, he didn't.
Objection.
She can answer that question. Is that what happened?
Did I misunderstand?
No, I honestly didn't read anything from my children. I think one, I said a friend, another time I didn't know who it was, but I do know my children's phone numbers, and no, it was none of my kids.
Obviously, the kids are not on that group chat, that private group chat that we went over, correct?
Oh, yes, correct. They're not.
Well, let's talk about those unidentified numbers. You said this is a number I don't recognize, and Mr. Brennan read to you a text to that person, correct?
Yes.
Whoever that is, that person's not a McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And that person's not an Albert.
They could be, again, it could have been Chris Albert, Julie. I don't, one of the numbers I didn't recognize because I have everybody in my phone with the name, so I don't recognize every number.
And that person certainly
you don't
was not
have
in that
that
group
number.
chat with you, Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, and Matt McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And then there was a friend. You said this is a friend, and I don't need you to identify the friend, but whoever this unidentified friend is, that friend is not a McCabe and is not an Albert, correct?
Correct.
And that friend was also not in that group chat that we went over in cross-examination. Is that right?
Correct.
These are all people outside of that group, among whom you engaged in the chat that we saw, correct?
Correct.
And that includes Carrie Roberts. She was not included in that group chat where you talked about the case and talked about what she was and wasn't doing with law enforcement, right?
Correct. It was just my sister, my brother-in-law, and husband.
Yeah, just one moment, Ron.
Okay.
No, that's all I have.
All right. Ms. McCabe, you are all set. Thank you very much.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
So did she just open
I'd like to
the
play
door
a
to the feds?
All right,
I don't know.
I'd like to play a couple of.
you can play them now.
They didn't ask for it, so I'm just gonna skip.
It's near.
I'm sorry, but this is. I don't like this. Sorry, so I'm just gonna jump to it. Another sidebar.
Who's coming to the stand?
Hannah Knowles. She looks like an expert.
All right, Mr. Lally.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the court?
Certainly. My name is Hannah Knowles. My last name is spelled Knowles.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a forensic scientist at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab.
And prior to
Why does she look like she's about to cry? She just works at a shitty job. She doesn't need to cry.
working at the lab, where did you go to school?
I have a Bachelor of Science from Simmons University in Boston and a Master's of Science in Forensic Science from the George Washington University.
And how long have you worked at the State Police Lab?
Since October of 2006.
And in what capacity do you work there now?
I'm currently a Forensic Scientist 4 in the Toxicology Unit.
Now, when you joined the State Police Lab, what was your position and title that you were initially hired for?
I was initially hired as a Chemist 1 in the Drug Identification or Narcotics Unit. After about a year in that position, I was promoted to a Chemist 2 position. After about a year, there was a position available in the Toxicology Unit, so I applied for that available position, transferred to the Tox Unit in about August of 2007, and been in the Toxicology Unit ever since.
And Ms. Knowles, briefly, if you could describe sort of what is the difference between a Chemist 1 and a Chemist 2?
At the time, the job series for folks that worked at the crime lab was the Chemist series. A Chemist 1 was an entry-level or trainee type position where the individual was responsible for progressing through the training program, assisting with casework as they are authorized on different modules. Chemist 2 was a bench-level analyst, someone who had completed training or had a significant amount of authorizations and could work on casework and worked independently from that point forward.
And similarly, what is sort of the difference between a Chemist 2 and a Chemist 3?
The Chemist 3 series that was in place prior to 2014 was a first-level supervisory role. It was somebody who oversaw the day-to-day operations and the work of forensic scientists 1 and 2, or chemists 1 and 2.
And what are your current duties and responsibilities at the State Police Lab?
In 2014, those chemist classifications that I was describing got changed to forensic scientists. Forensic scientists 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is the series. Currently, I'm a forensic scientist 4, and so my role is overseeing training and validation for the toxicology unit.
Is there a continuing educational component to your work at the lab?
Yes, there is.
And can you describe that for the jury, please?
As part of our accreditation, analysts are required to participate in continuing education at least once per year as they continue to work in their role. Continuing education can consist of participating in workshops or webinars, attending conferences or meetings, or documenting ongoing literature review of new journal articles as they're published.
This is the way you're going to send the jury on weekend?
What is proficiency testing?
Proficiency testing is something that we utilize in the laboratory to assess processes and competencies of an individual, as well as the processes that are in place for a particular unit or department or scope of testing. Proficiency testing is also an accreditation requirement. Individuals are required by our internal processes to participate in proficiency testing at least once per year as sort of an ongoing assessment. And what a proficiency test is materials that are purchased by the laboratory from a third-party vendor. Those materials are analyzed as if they were casework, but there are expected results or known results for those samples. Once the laboratory processes those samples, just like their casework, we submit the results to the external vendor that we purchased the materials from. The results are compared to the expected results, and we have to have our results meet those expected results in order for the proficiency test to be considered successful.
Now, over the course of your years at the lab, have you undergone proficiency testing?
Yes, I have.
And have you passed each of those respective proficiency tests that you've taken?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Now, is the State Police Lab accredited?
Yes, it is.
And by whom?
The Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab is currently accredited by the American National Standards Institute National Accreditation Board.
And what does that accreditation process consist of?
The accreditation process consists of on-site assessments as well as remote or virtual assessments to evaluate our policies and procedures, our personnel, our management, as well as our facilities to ensure that we are meeting established accreditation standards. The standards that we're currently accredited to is an international standard 17025 with additional requirements for forensic testing laboratories. And so there are folks that come from that organization, ANAB, that come to evaluate all of those different aspects of our processes to ensure that we are meeting the standards set out in their requirements.
And the State Police Lab, in particular, the toxicology unit within that lab, is that accreditation up to date at this point?
Yes, we're currently accredited to that standard.
Now, just in general terms, Ms. Knowles, if you could explain to the jury, what is forensic science?
Forensic science generally is the application of science to questions of law.
And just again, in sort of general terms, if you could explain to the jury, what is toxicology?
Toxicology generally is a study of chemicals and other substances and how they impact a living organism or a person.
Now, asking a little more specifically, what is forensic toxicology?
Forensic toxicology is generally looking at drugs and alcohol in the human body and how it affects the individual, and applying chemistry and other disciplines to measure the concentration or determine the presence or absence of relevant substances.
Are there different types of alcohol?
Yes, there are.
And what are those types?
Generally, alcohols are a family or a group of drugs or chemicals that have a specific functional group or specific structure. The types of alcohols that are analyzed in the laboratory that I work include methanol, ethanol, and isopropanol.
And what are the differences between those different types?
They all have similar but slightly different structures. Methanol is a solvent. Sometimes it's called wood grain alcohol. Isopropanol is rubbing alcohol or 2-propanol, and that is typically used as a disinfectant. And ethanol is the type of alcohol that we typically are referring to when we talk about alcoholic beverages. It's what's present in those types of liquids.
Now, Ms. Knowles, through your training and experience, are you familiar with the term known as a central nervous system depressant?
Yes, I am. And
can you explain that term to the jury?
Sure. A central nervous system depressant is a drug or a substance that works to slow down the reactions of nerves in your body. It makes nerve cells slower or less likely to respond to stimulus.
Now, is alcohol a central nervous system depressant?
Yes, it is.
And how would that central nervous system depressant affect the human body?
The effects depend on the concentration or the amount that's present.
It's Massachusetts. No one above the age of 8 has not tried what alcohol can do to your system.
Though I do hope not all of them try rubbing alcohol.
No, and don't methanol either. It can make you go blind.
In the body, effects range depending on that concentration, from slowing reaction time, reducing heart rate or respiration rate in an individual. That slower respiration rate can also result in drowsiness or unconsciousness. Slower.
You know what can also
so can this testimony.
Yeah. It's at 1.5 and I'm just luckily we're ending early today.
Reaction time and more limited muscle control can also result in outward appearances like a staggering gait or slurred speech. It can impair balance and motor coordination. because nerves are responding more slowly. Alcohol can also, or ethanol specifically, can impact your brain's ability to form new memories. It can impact your body's ability to perceive and apply critical thinking. Again, all of those effects that I just described,
I mentioned
they can be present
this morning,
depending on the concentration and the individual and
timeline.
how they're responding to that particular concentration of ethanol at any particular time.
Now, how is work assigned within the state police lab, specifically within the toxicology unit?
Generally, supervisors will come up with a monthly schedule or rotation where the different types of work in the unit are divided amongst authorized analysts, and then casework is assigned according to that.
I can't remember her being there last year, but also she seems like one of those persons who can have been talking to you for an entire night, and you would think you had been alone.
That rotation. If an individual has previously been assigned work for that case or has previously issued a report for that case, then sometimes we go off rotation and assign a case according to that previous involvement or previous report that was issued for the case.
Now, at
He's
some
a
point, were
blood
you assigned to
pressure
perform some
racer.
work on a lab case number 22-06576 pertaining to this defendant, Karen Reed?
Yes, I was.
And what is it that you were asked to do?
I was asked to prepare a serum conversion report and a retrograde extrapolation report relative to this case.
Now, how many serum conversions have you conducted during your years at the lab?
I've prepared over 100 serum conversion reports since I was authorized in 2008.
And how many retrograde analyses have you conducted during your years at the lab?
I would say approximately 15.
Now, starting with a serum conversion, can you please explain to the jury what a serum conversion is and how it is that it's conducted?
Certainly. A serum conversion is a service that the laboratory offers when a serum ethanol concentration has been determined, and it would be helpful or relevant for us to approximate what a corresponding whole blood alcohol concentration would be. When we're talking about blood alcohol concentrations or blood ethanol concentrations and serum ethanol concentrations are always higher than a blood alcohol concentration. If you had a blood and a serum sample that were collected from the same person at the same time, you would always expect the serum alcohol to be between 13 and 19% higher than the whole blood. So for that reason, that difference between the two, this service that we offer can assist to approximate what a corresponding whole blood ethanol concentration would be based on testing on a serum ethanol concentration.
And did you have occasion to perform a serum conversion with respect to this defendant?
Yes, I did.
And what materials or documents did you receive in order to perform that analysis?
For the serum conversion, I referred to medical records that were provided with a request.
May I approach and retrieve what's been previously marked as Exhibit 37?
Yes.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
I'm showing you a document. You recognize that document? May I approach the Your Honor?
Yes. Yes, sure.
Turn your attention to a previously tabbed portion of those records. It's the 52nd page of those records. Do you recognize that?
Yes, the flagged page is consistent with the portion of the medical records that I had reviewed in preparation for doing the serum conversion calculations for this report.
And those medical records pertain to a Ms. Karen Reed from the Good Samaritan Medical Center. Is that correct?
Yes, they do.
And in those records on that 52nd page, what was reported as the defendant's ethanol level?
The results are recorded as an alcohol result with a value of 93 milligrams per deciliter.
And pursuant to those records, at what time was that sample taken from the defendant at the Good Samaritan Medical Center?
The collection time listed on the medical records is January 29th, 2022 at 9:08 a.m.
Now, that recording and a measurement of milligrams per deciliter, is that typical for how you see ethanol measured by hospital labs?
Yes.
And did you conduct the serum conversion for this defendant's reading consistently with how you do in every case that's assigned to you?
Yes.
Now, please explain to the jury how you're able to convert that serum level reading to a blood alcohol concentration.
So the way that the calculation is performed is kind of in two steps. So the results are listed in milligrams per deciliter, which is common in clinical testing. And to convert it to the type of units that are typically used for blood alcohol concentrations,
I can't wait to
we
raise
just
my
divide by 1,000 to get that into the right units.
ethanol a little bit.
So 93 milligrams per deciliter converts to 0.093 grams per cent. And then to perform the serum conversion or to get this serum ethanol concentration into what we would estimate to be a blood alcohol concentration. We applied two
Estimate?
conversion factors,
Estimate.
a low and a high conversion factor to account for the range that we see in the
directly.
typical population. I'd mentioned earlier that serum is usually between 13 to 19% higher. So we divide that 0.093 by 1.13 and by 1.19 to get a low and a high blood alcohol concentration for that range.
And those conversion factors that you just mentioned, where do those come from?
The conversion factors come from literature where they've performed experiments similar to how I described. They have individuals that have ingested ethanol. They collect samples from them and test their whole blood and test their serum alcohol concentrations, and then compare them and see what the ratio is between them. The current ratios that are used by the laboratory, the 13 and 19%, those are also consistent with consensus body documents or sort of industry standards that we utilize and base our protocols upon.
Now that 13 and 19%, how long have those conversion factors been in place?
There was a consensus body document published in 2024, and so we adjusted the serum conversion factors that had previously been in use to those new published or those new recommendations in September of 2024.
Now, does the change in conversion factors recently adopted by your lab, does that benefit the patient or the person for whom you're converting the ethanol to blood alcohol concentration?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Does it?
Yeah, the previous factors we used between 12 and 18%. And so when you perform that conversion, it typically ends up with a equivalent or lower blood alcohol concentration. And so it could be interpreted as being favorable to a defendant.
Now, why are they presented in a range?
We don't use just one.
This is why I hate Lally. She just described why it's a low and a high because it's an extrapolation and a guesstimation. It's somewhere in there. And now I hate this guy. I'm not a drinker, so does this mean Karen Reed was still drunk at 5 a.m., 9 a.m.? This means that they took the serum and gibbily gobbled it and think that she might have been drunk at 9 a.m., but it's an estimate. They don't know because the same estimates she had that night would have, if you're in the high end, she would have been almost passed out drunk because it was 2.4 something, or she would be very drunk, stumbling, which no one saw, but still they claim she had a 1.32 at the low end and a 2.54 or something on the high end. There's 136% difference in the guesstimation. Already that high discrepancy should say this is not scientifically valuable. But
they'll get to it on cross, but it also, like, it depends a lot on when she had her last drink, and we don't really know when that was, right? She might have went home and continued to drink, in which case it would have thrown this entire thing off by
Yeah, because it
magnitude.
basically goes by a constant factor of what an average body reduces alcohol to within a certain time period.
Yes.
And if her body systems are complicated at all by the Crohn's or the MS or anything, or just being a, let's say, social drinker, and she can handle it better, those are things that are not going to be accounted for in these calculations.
Merely having her digestive tract issues, I would think would impact this formula significantly.
That's
Because
what I thought, but they never got into it in the first trial, and I thought they might, but
I
maybe
think
they figured.
that's what Alessi did with the MS when he talked about the MS.
I'm sure they'll get into it. I'm sure they will.
The estimated BAC on this calculation was 781. That would be just below the legal limit, and 823 would be just above the legal limit.
conversion factor, because in the studies that we base our procedures on, it demonstrates that the general population does not have one consistent conversion factor or ratio between their whole blood and their.
Well, they backtrack it till that evening. They can do that, which they shouldn't be allowed to unless they take the blood at that time. They shouldn't be allowed to just come in and say, hey, we don't know what you did the rest of the night, but we claim you were that drunk at that time.
Serum alcohol concentrations. And so to ensure that the conversion that we're utilizing applies to most of the general population, we use sort of the extremes of what we see in that literature, like a high and a low, to make sure that our approximation falls, that the true value would fall somewhere in between that low and that high value.
And what did you calculate as a low and a high range for this defendant's blood alcohol concentration from that alcohol reading from the Good Samaritan Medical Center?
So the 93 milligrams per deciliter serum ethanol concentration would convert to between 0.078 and 0.092% or grams percent.
And again, Ms. Knowles, that's at the time that the blood is drawn at approximately 9:08 a.m. on January 29th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, turning your attention to retrograde extrapolation, can you explain to the jury what a retrograde extrapolation is?
That only
Sure.
happens when Mercury's
Retrograde
in
extrapolation
retrograde, right?
is another service that the laboratory offers, where it's a calculation that we can perform when we have a alcohol concentration that was measured at a particular time, and it would be helpful or relevant to know what that person's blood alcohol concentration was at some point prior to that sample having been collected. What we're doing with this calculation is taking what we know about how quickly the human body is capable of breaking down alcohol and applying that rate of elimination to the time interval between when the sample was collected and tested and when there might be a particular time of interest, a car accident or some interaction where that person's blood alcohol concentration might be relevant.
And how is that done?
Similar to the range of conversion factors that we were looking at with the serum conversion, we know that the rate of elimination in alcohol in humans varies from person to person. And so based on studies where they're looking at rates of elimination in large groups of people, we know that alcohol can break down at a rate of between 0.010 and 0.025% per hour. And so we take when we're looking at a serum conversion and then being combined with a retrograde.
What? It breaks down 1% in an hour.
Or
so when I drink,
25%.
so I drink my beer in a bit when this is done, this hellhole. It has 5.6% alcohol, 4.6% alcohol in my beer. Of that, I will now spend 460 hours breaking that down because it only, well, no, I won't. I'll spend 100 hours destroying that beer. That's it. I break down a percentage per hour, so it's 100 hours to break down one beer. I have been told my entire life that I break down one serving of beer per hour.
I think somebody's math is messed up. I don't know if it's yours or hers.
She said we break down 1%, but if you do it in Danish, our beer is measured in, you have percent. That's when, and then you move the comma over once. then we call it
That's
promille.
math.
It's called promille. I don't know what that's called in English.
Dividing by 10.
Yeah, you take, but you do it in you do it in percent. We do it promille. So ours is higher. But then I don't. So
I would just like to say I was promised no more math. I was promised.
Damn it! It's Friday. There will be math. What's the legal alcohol level?
To
0.08.
0.08.
0.08
in most states.
So this is, you can have an 8% of something, right? That's 8%.
Yes.
0.08, yeah.
Yeah, you can have 0%. You can have 8% alcohol in your blood.
No, I think that's 0.08%.
0.08%.
So
so it's less than 1% of your blood.
So if you drink a 4%
half
alcohol beer, it will be halfway illegal.
But this one is most Danish beer is 4.6%, right? And I've always been told you can have 2 beers and then you'll reach the 0.08.
Well, it's not
I really want to get a breathalyzer for home fun use.
Well, your body's got to process the alcohol. So that 4.6% is how much alcohol is in the beer you consume. You consume that percentage of alcohol in the beer, and then your body breaks it down and delivers some of that alcohol into your bloodstream. And that percentage of alcohol to the rest of your blood is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then,
thank you,
then I have this blood level now. I have 0.08%. And I burn 1% per hour. So I burn that.
And
does this mean I burn it over 8 hours? Or
no, it'd be less than an hour.
Huh?
But
I'm actually negative 92%
sober.
90 because
it's not the it's not the same thing. It's like
because I'm really confused about it because we agree on
it's like this. An ear of corn is 100%.
What percent am I cleaning in an hour? Is it of
an ear of corn is 100% corn. By the time it goes through your body and you poop it, your poop is less than 100% corn.
Yeah, I know it's not all the
measurement. I know category.
I don't know why that's so funny to me. Sorry.
This is because I don't understand what she's. We agree we can have this, right?
Yes, you can have a. Yes.
No, 0.08. This is my BAC. This is my. So okay, so.
You have to multiply it by a further 100, so it would be something ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's what we call
like
promille.
1,000ths or something of your blood.
But I have a 0.08% BAC right now. Then I burn 1%. I burn 1% in an hour. What 1% of what? Is it 1% of? Is it 1% of the 08? Because then I would have to burn for 100 hours for the 08 to go to 0. or is it of the full amount? So I could actually have been at 1.00% BAC and burn that in an hour.
You know what? If you're only taking 1% of a whole and you repeat, you will never complete the whole. If you take half of a given unit and only take half every time, reduce it by half every time, you will never get to 0. There's your fun math fact for the day.
Yeah, because it's a never-ending story.
You can always have
just,
something.
Okay, can we
It
just
just
sing the
sounds good,
never-ending
but what
story
does it
song?
mean?
Because I am more confused than I was about the effing cell phones now, and I want to just drink. Damn it!
Never-ending story.
Yeah, this is 1% per hour, so it takes me 8 hours to burn a 0 to get to 0 again. And that's the thing I don't get, because I have been told my entire life that I burn 1 beer an hour.
We take the smaller of the serum conversion range, and we add that to the slowest elimination rate multiplied by a time interval. And then we also take the larger of the serum conversion values, and then we add that to the fastest elimination rate multiplied by the time interval. We use a smaller time interval for that sort of minimum calculation to account for the fact that we don't want to overshoot
That's why I don't get
that estimate of blood
1%.
alcohol concentration. If there was some unabsorbed alcohol, we don't necessarily always know when we perform these calculations the drinking history, or like when the person had stopped drinking that day. And so we usually subtract 2 hours from the time interval when we're doing that minimum calculation to have a more conservative estimate. So we're applying the time interval, the rates of elimination, and looking at what we have for blood alcohol concentrations, all to be considered when we're performing the calculation.
Now, what categories of information do you need in order to perform a retrograde analysis?
We need to know what the blood alcohol concentration was at the time that the sample was collected. We need to know the time the sample was collected, and we need to know the incident time, or the time of interest that we're sort of calculating back to. There's a couple of requirements to be able to perform this calculation that we have to ensure. We have to make sure that there's at least been 2 hours in that time interval between the time of collection and the time of interest that we're looking at. We can't calculate backwards with that very narrow window because we can't be sure that the person is entirely in the elimination phase, that their body has reached a maximum blood alcohol concentration and they're just breaking down alcohol at that point. And we also know that this simple rate of elimination calculation can't be accurately modeled once we get down below between 0.02 and 0.03. So we have to make sure that the starting blood alcohol concentration is at least an 0.3 or higher in order to be able to apply that math.
Now, how is it that alcohol is metabolized within the body?
Generally, after someone stops drinking alcohol, their body reaches a maximum blood alcohol concentration. And then after that maximum is reached, for most folks, that's between 30 and 90 minutes after they stop drinking. And then the body breaks the alcohol down over time in a very predictable linear fashion, down until it gets down into about 0.02 and 0.03. The mechanism that the body uses to metabolize, some alcohol is excreted in urine, some alcohol is evaporated and removed from the body through your breath, but the vast majority is broken down with enzymes in your body that convert the ethanol structure into water and carbon dioxide.
What are the phases of metabolism for alcohol in the body?
So alcohol, once it's ingested, moves through the body in a couple of different phases. One, initially, the body is absorbing alcohol. Then alcohol is distributed throughout the body where it can have its effects. There's a metabolism phase, and then elimination. And most drugs and alcohol all kind of follow that same pattern in these different phases. And so I mentioned elimination phase earlier. That's after you've reached a maximum blood alcohol concentration, and your body is no longer absorbing, it's fully distributed in your body, and then you're just breaking it down and your body's removing the alcohol or the ethanol from your system.
Now, in a retrograde analysis, are you calculating for a single number or something else?
So because we don't know an individual's particular rate of elimination, we use a maximum and a minimum, a fast and a slow elimination rate. And so our results for this calculation are always expressed in a range to ensure that that individual's actual blood alcohol concentration lies somewhere between the range that we provide.
And can you please explain sort of that range in the size of it?
The range that's provided as part of these calculations, the size of the range depends on the facts of the case and the amount of time passed between the time
because they
of
don't know
incident
when
and
she
the time of
stopped
the sample
drinking.
collection. The more time that's elapsed, there's a greater difference between the faster and the slower rates of elimination, the 0.01 per hour and the 0.025 per hour.
And what do those minimum and maximum blood alcohol concentration numbers signify?
They signify the smallest and the largest concentration that could be reasonably expected based on the blood alcohol concentration and the rates of elimination that are being applied in the calculation.
Now,
Man, do something important and calculate how much I can drink without having another child.
Similarly, did you perform that in conformity with how you performed prior retrograde extrapolation analyses in other
I
cases?
mean, if you want a math for humanity,
what
that'd be
time was
helpful.
utilized in your analysis as the time of vehicle operation or of incident?
12:45 a.m. January 29th, 2022.
And do you know where that time came from?
I believe it was the time specified in the request from the district attorney's office.
And why is time of operation or time of incident important?
How's the old time?
Because the time interval that we use in the calculation depends on the starting and the ending point of that calculation. So the time of incident is important because that's what we're basing the math on.
And what was the resulting minimum and maximum numbers that you calculated for the defendant's blood alcohol concentration from her blood testing reading from the Good Samaritan Medical Center?
That based on the 93 milligrams per deciliter
I think he wants them to forget, Jen.
value that was obtained at Good Samaritan, that the blood alcohol concentration for that individual at 12:45 a.m. Could be between 0.14 and 0.28 grams per cent.
And so you calculated the defendant's blood alcohol concentration to be between 0.14 and 0.28 at 12:45 a.m. on January 29th, 2022. Is that correct?
So Karen Reed was around double the legal limit.
According to the state. Double the
according to the backstrapulation and at 12:45, where she is on John's couch in a rager calling him, could potentially have because she's such a big alcoholic, so she's probably pounding back vodkas, yelling into her phone. But she's at
in all fairness,
double the legal limit. Let's just start there. She is a lady that weighs less than my right thigh.
That's probably
yes.
True. Yeah.
She would not be able to. She would be driving like this to make sure that one of the roads disappeared. This lady would be sleeping her ass off. I've been drinking with very, very petite ladies before. And one thing I have noticed is they get hammered really fast, and then you can tell they're hammered really fast. I'm a big fat guy. I can carry my alcohol. But this
I'm
is
going to
the
need
big
someone
lady.
to keep me at a 1 drink minimum. Otherwise, I will be like 2 drinks, 2 margaritas, Mo. No, don't sign up for the amateur night. What are you doing? I have rhythm. Shut up. My name is Chastity.
And again, even though she might like her drinky poo, we are twice the legal limit. Not one person, no one, even the liars we have had on the stand so far, has ever testified she seemed at least be a bit intoxicated. At twice the legal limit. Again, I'm a big guy. Me and Valhalla could probably carry a 1.2 around pretty easy.
I might be carrying it around right now.
we don't mind having a beer or 3. But again, we're talking about a lady that weighs less than Valhalla's morning dump. And she's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. She was driving. She's such a great driver when she's drunk that she can reverse into a guy and just go home. And she wakes up 2 or 3 hours later and starts looking for him. Not one person has testified. Not one video has shown that Karen Reed was stumbling, that she was all over the place. She's either a massive alcoholic or this is other bullshit.
It just seems like a way, again, with the gradient so vast, when you go from 13 to 19%, that is such a great range, especially when you are back extrapolating, meaning those variances are going to get bigger and bigger as the time goes back. This is absolutely ridiculous. Again, Mike Kolakakis,
yes,
that was closer.
Okay, he didn't testify that Karen was like stumbling around drunk. Jen said,
No.
like, I hugged her. She was going to come with me. She didn't say like she was stumbling. And, I told her, let John drive.
If she hadn't admitted to drinking as much as she did on the videos, I could make a plea that she hadn't had 1 drink all night. But sadly, her lawyers were assholes on letting her talk. And
yeah,
I think she'll catch something for that. They really have to get this Seinfeld chick to say something that will ruin it for them.
Correct.
Look like
Yes.
Julie Louise
May I
drive.
approach this, Richard, you're on?
Yes.
Bev, can we mercy end this? This is math on a Friday.
Thank you, ma'am. I have no further questions.
Right. Mr. Nady?
No further questions.
Jesus.
At this point, I'm only going to give you about 5 minutes. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, Janetti.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
He did the last
The
time
Mass
too.
State Police Crime Lab, you mentioned is an accredited forensic lab, correct?
That's correct.
That means that your lab has met specific internationally recognized standards for both quality and competence, correct?
There are aspects of quality and analyst competence that are addressed in the accreditation standards, yes.
It also means that your lab has demonstrated a commitment to best practices and to ensuring the reliability and accuracy of its forensic work, correct?
Yes.
And there are several requirements in order to become accredited, right?
Yes.
One of the most important requirements is an independent external review of your lab's quality management system, correct?
Yes, that's definitely one important component of the accreditation process.
That independent external review also evaluates your lab's technical systems, correct?
Yes.
And its procedures.
Yes.
And an external review means that experts from outside your lab come into your lab to review your work, right?
Yes, the review includes the procedures and the operating protocols, and there is some element of case file and specific work review.
Within your lab.
Correct.
And they make sure that you're following established and proper protocols, correct?
Yes.
Now, as a forensic scientist is one of your responsibilities to ensure compliance with the lab's administrative policies, quality assurance, and control requirements to make sure that you're complying with accreditation standards?
Yes.
And you take pride in your lab's accreditation status, correct?
Yes, it's an achievement that's obtained by the hard work of a lot of folks at the lab working together.
You make sure, or you do your best to make sure that the lab is in compliance because you don't want to lose that accreditation status, correct?
Correct. It's important to ensure confidence in our results, to maintain the quality and maintain the accreditation.
Okay. In contrast to the accreditation standards for a forensic lab like yours, the standards for a hospital lab may be different, correct?
Correct. Typically, accrediting bodies for clinical chemistry or hospital systems are different accrediting bodies or different standards than forensic standards.
Okay. And a forensic lab exists for a different purpose than a hospital lab. Is that right?
Correct. They have different customers and sort of different.
I don't know why you want to slow it down. I can tell you what it is. The hospital wasn't accredited when they took the blood sample. That's why it can't be trusted. Boom.
Scope or intention for the use of their results.
Sure. A hospital lab tests and analyzes blood for its use in diagnosing medical illnesses and for medical purposes, correct?
That's consistent with my understanding, yes.
Sure. And it's not for meeting court admissibility standards like your lab, right?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Your lab follows strict procedures that an expert from your lab can have confidence in the lab results when they come to testify in court like you're doing today, correct?
Yes.
As you testify here today, you have no information that the lab at Good Samaritan Hospital is an accredited lab, correct?
Correct.
And in addition, Good Samaritan Hospital is an external
So what he's just about to make her say is shit in, shit out.
party in terms of its relationship to your lab, right?
Yes, and for that reason, the type of calculations that we performed based on medical records from Good Samaritan are outside of the scope of accreditation in the crime laboratory system.
Right. It has no relationship to your crime lab, the Good Samaritan lab, right?
Correct. The same policies and procedures are applied when our laboratory analyzes serum, or if we needed to do a retrograde extrapolation on testing that was performed internally that's covered by the scope of accreditation. But as you're mentioning, the testing was not performed in my laboratory. I don't have any direct knowledge or understanding of their QC procedures, of their accreditation requirements, or their testing procedures at all.
You anticipated my next question. So basically, you cannot personally vouch for the ethanol testing that was performed at Good Samaritan, correct?
That's accurate. The reliability of the results that my calculations were based on, my calculations are only as good as the numbers that I was provided. And like I said, the same math that I did here, I would do to my own internal standard or my own internal testing, anything that I performed testing on in the lab myself. But the results that I started from, I don't have any direct knowledge on their accuracy or reliability.
All right, Ms. Giannetti, we can bring Ms. Knowles back on Monday if you want. I don't want to cut you short. That was the time frame.
And I'm perfectly fine with that, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Lally, you're done? Okay. Ms. Knowles, thank you very much. You're all set. You can step down. Ms. Giannetti, I think everybody...
I don't think that landed good enough because she cut in. But she has no way of knowing that this blood test was done to standard.
All right, jurors, that's it for us for this week. I'll have to give you those cautions in a minute. I can tell you that it looks like next week we're full days every day. We don't expect as long a gap in between as we've had to do. So I think everybody should work really hard to make sure that doesn't happen. The cautions: please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. Please be very careful with your social media use, and we'll see you on Monday. Have a good week. And I will see counsel at sidebar.
Why is she seeing counsel on sidebar? Ugh. Well, Mo, now look at the mess we're in.
We're in charge. No more math. Hell yes.
That was that last witness was, I think, mostly just to keep Jen further out of the end of day Friday headlines, right? Try to bury her a little bit with boring math science.
Do wonder, and I really wonder, again, because we are not, legalologists and we're not in the defense team, but did Jen open the door as to why the Department of Justice had, interest? Did she open that door? I don't know.
I think so. I think she did. When she claimed that investigation was over and it, or whatever the hell she said, they have to be able to explain that. Otherwise, they're going to think that this other agency, federal agency, came in, did an investigation, and they're charging Karen Reed because of it. Everybody went off, got let off the suspect list, and they ended up on Karen Reed. They have to be able to explain it.
I don't see Bev getting out of it. I mean, or being able to sort of justify not letting them at least present it.
And I was just told on Twitter, it happens a lot that people bot dial people.
Oh.
You have more agile bots than me. And still, I love the part where your agile bot thinks, nope, I'm going to cut it off again before voicemail.
Or the voicemail picks up.
Strategic butts. Two strategic butts.
Is
Brendan
ready, or we have to hear his whining like last week? Give me 5.
Let's go. Where you at, man?
Yep.
Never-ending story.
I just have to go to the store and buy one. Can you hang on for 5 minutes? But well, happy Friday, everyone.
Salud.
Okay, you guys are talented.
We are.
Well, if I chug this one, hard cider, Mr. Mo's gonna come home to like honky tonk badonkadonk coming on, and he's gonna be like, I don't know what party we signed up for, but count me in.
That honky tonk badonkadonk.
Hey, Trace Atkins is on my hall pass list. I'm just saying.
That a girl.
He will come home to a note on the door saying, I'm folding laundry. You can join or you can, but I'm doing it.
Oh, Mo, are you stuck in the washer again? Dang it.
Well, I mean, look, those storylines came from somewhere.
Well, just to dampen your loins a little bit, I have the right thing.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Jen! 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 Jen!
I just made sure that no babies will be born in 9 months.
Can confirm will take a womb to bear in 0 to 60 seconds.
So the military, y'all, they issue a pair of glasses for the U.S. Army, the U.S. military. They're colloquially referred to as BCGs, or birth control glasses, because they are pretty horrendous.
Yes.
I think we have found BCJ, birth control Jen. I think that's what her new nickname is. And we should leave it at that forever.
They're going to be called, so they're not going to be called Jimmy Caps anymore. They're going to be called Jen Caps.
Oh,
funny you said that name.
I'm Jimmy. How y'all doing? Yes.
When did you first meet Lori?
This is in the summer of 14.
And where did you meet her?
Jimmy's awesome. I'm Jimmy. How y'all doing?
Yeah. So how did you know her? She bought, her husband bought a car and I banged her. Okay. That's what happened.
Yikes.
So today, I would say a good day for the defense. I
would say so.
I would say AJ didn't do his AJ stuff. He didn't lose his mind as much. There was a few times where I was like, come on, back on track. But I think he landed the punches he needed to land. And
it was a much better day, I think, than Wednesday was. I think he and it was good timing too, right? Going into the weekend, having her look like a lying liar that lies because she is. It's good. It's good. And I honest to God think that she was avoiding the jury there towards the end for whatever reason. She was not looking at them like she used to. She literally pulled her hair into her face while she was looking down reading so that the jury couldn't see her face.
I think she realized how badly she was doing. I think, again, you guys, we were catching her doing those kind of side glances at the jury, and whatever she saw on their faces, it wasn't, I mean, it's like when Sarah Boone would look over at the jury and obviously not see what she wanted to, and then like.
And could we have done it in half the time? Yes, but it would have taken a judge who said, Miss McCabe, this was a yes or no answer. Instead, we have Bev who says, can you answer that? Come on. So, yeah, but I thought it was better. But let's do it's the weekend. I'll give you some time.
What the hell day is it? Friday? Tonight, actually, I think here in about an hour, Nick Staro's going to have a birthday bash. I'm probably going to swing over there and say hi to him. Happy birthday to him. Tonight, FNL over on the Experts channel. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, we've got Lego with Recovery Addict for part 2. And then, I guess Monday, back at the trial. Otherwise, I've got the goat cam up and running. Come check out baby goats.
Hey guys, it's Mo from Mo in the Deep End, and tomorrow we have Legal Shenanigans Theater. We are starting the Lori Vallow pro se, Charles Vallow case. So we will be presenting Lori Vallow, Legal Woman. I didn't want to put Mighty Morphin, Mormon Power Ranger on there yet because I didn't have the little graphic, but that will be next week.
When's the Lefty Lego stream? I have no idea. I asked. Nobody told me. So there's a thumbnail in existence. It's not scheduled yet. I don't know what it's supposed to be scheduled, but
yeah, and no one should watch that anyway if Lefty is there. I will be at a birthday tomorrow, so I don't think I will be online for anything. Maybe I will be joining the expert if I can get my behind out of bed, but there will be no morning stream tomorrow. Sunday, I will have the wonderful Alexa's room on to hear her take on the Karen Reek. This is not Game of Thrones. Karen Reed, week 1-ish. Next week, I have entered into an agreement with Sleuthy Goosey to have her on to talk about her view on the case so far. I will be trying to do these Sunday breakdowns just to have some new voices and some new input because we are all in agreement. Karen Reed clearly did it with the chandelier in the observatory.
In the driveway.
In a blizzard that was so horrendous that no one could see 40th highlighted. No floodlight was on or whatever she said. I hate that woman. That's all I can say. Get ready for a few night bashes tonight, birthday stream, Friday Night Live, and of course tomorrow, the one, the only, the Mo. And we'll be back Monday if you want to spend the weekend without us.
Later, y'all.
But why would you?
Later.
Jen! Misreads.
Yes.
Jen!
Get cut and dry. Pretty simple. Just pin it on the girl, right? Pretty simple. Just pin it on the girl, right?
Objection.
Pretty simple. Just pin it on the girl, right?